Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive. Today we'll be venturing beyond the stratosphere with Multiplanetary Dawn, the evolution of mankind's journey beyond Earth. Now, this book isn't your typical space exploration read. It goes beyond recounting missions and dives deep into the challenges and breakthroughs that have shaped humanity's quest for the stars.
What's fascinating is how the book intertwines the evolution of space travel with the evolution of humanity itself. It delves into the profound impact that pushing beyond Earth has had on our species, both technologically and philosophically.
So it's not just about the hardware and the missions, it's about the human element, too. How venturing to the cosmos has shaped our understanding of ourselves.
Precisely. It grapples with some pretty big questions about the psychological effects of long-duration space travel, the necessity for a self-sustaining life support system, and even the ethical implications of terraforming other planets.
This is like a pretty expansive scope.
Yeah.
So where does the book begin its exploration?
It takes us back to the very beginning with the space race, that fierce rivalry between the United States and the Soviet Union. It argues that this competition, fueled by Cold War tension, was the spark that ignited humanity's journey beyond Earth.
That makes sense. It was a time of unprecedented technological innovation. Both superpowers were driven to push the boundaries of what was possible.
Exactly. And in just a few short decades, we went from launching Sputnik, the first artificial satellite, to landing humans on the moon. It's a testament to human ingenuity and the power of competition.
It must have been an incredible time to witness those early launches. Were there any key innovations that the book highlights as being particularly impactful?
The book delves into the development of liquid-fueled rockets as a pivotal turning point. They provided the power and efficiency needed to break free from Earth's gravity. It mentions pioneers like Robert Goddard, who launched the first liquid-fueled rocket in 1926, and Wernher von Braun, whose work on the V-2 rocket during World War II laid the foundation for the American space program.
So these individuals, even those working within the context of war, played a crucial role in propelling space exploration forward.
Absolutely. And the book doesn't shy away from the complex legacies of figures like von Braun. His work was groundbreaking, but it was also developed under a horrific regime. It highlights the ethical complexities that are sometimes intertwined with scientific progress.
That's an important point to remember, that the history of space exploration isn't always straightforward.
Yeah.
It's a human story with all its nuances and contradictions.
Exactly. And the book emphasizes that understanding this historical context is crucial for navigating the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead as we venture further into the cosmos.
So we've talked about the early days, key player, the technological advancements that made space travel possible. What about the missions themselves? What were some of the pivotal moments during this era?
The book zeroes in on the Apollo program as a turning point in human history. Landing on the moon wasn't just a technological triumph, but a symbolic one. It demonstrated humanity's ability to overcome seemingly insurmountable challenges and achieve the impossible.
It's like reaching the summit of a mountain that everyone said couldn't be climbed. It shifts our perspective on what we believe we can achieve.
Precisely. And the book explores how that shift in perspective influenced our understanding of ourselves and our place in the universe. It broadened our horizons both literally and figuratively.
It makes you wonder, did the Apollo program live up to its promise? Did it usher in a new era of space exploration as many had hoped?
That's a question the book grapples with. It acknowledges that while the Apollo program was a monumental achievement, it didn't lead to the sustained push into space that many had envisioned. The focus shifted and the momentum seemed to fade.
So there was a bit of a lull after that initial burst of activity. Why was that?
The book explores a number of factors, including a political shift, budgetary constraints, and the inherent risks and complexities of space travel. It wasn't just one thing, but a confluence of events that led to a slowdown in exploration.
But surely the dream of venturing further into space didn't simply disappear, did it?
It didn't. And that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. We'll explore how the dream of space exploration evolved after the Apollo era, and how new technologies and actors are shaping the future of humanity's journey beyond Earth.
So last time we were talking about how things kind of slowed down after that initial push to the moon.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean the dream of space exploration just vanished.
Right.
In fact, the book talks about how it actually kind of evolved, start taking on these new shapes, driven by different motivations and fueled by all these emerging technologies.
So what were some of these new motivations, I guess, and technologies that were starting to emerge?
Well, on the tech side, we see the rise of private space companies.
Oh, yeah?
Like SpaceX, Blue Origin, Virgin Galactic, all these companies that brought this new kind of entrepreneurial energy to space exploration.
Yeah, that makes sense. They're not really bound by the same, bureaucracy as government agency.
Right. They're all about efficiency. They're all about lowering costs, making space more accessible. And that leads to things like a renewed focus on reusability.
Interesting. So we're talking about rockets that can land back on Earth and be used over and over.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like what SpaceX is doing with the Falcon 9, it dramatically cuts down the cost of getting to space.
So that's a huge game changer.
Dude, yeah. So you've got the private companies shaking things up on the tech side, But then you also have these shifts in motivation happening.
Oh, right. We were talking about that before. Like, it wasn't just about scientific discovery anymore.
Yeah, the book dives into how things like commercialization and even the sense of adventure really started to come to the forefront.
So, like space tourism, asteroid mining, all these things that were basically science fiction before.
Exactly. And they're starting to become real driving forces in space exploration today.
I mean, it is kind of cool to think about space becoming more accessible, not just for scientists and government,
Yeah.
but for everyday people.
It is. And all of this ties back into one of the core themes of the book, the human factor.
Right. We touched on that before with the psychological and physical challenges of being in space.
Yeah, but it goes even deeper than that.
Oh, how's
The book explores how living in space, even for short periods, can actually change your whole perspective, like how you see yourself and your relationship with Earth.
wow. So it's almost like a psychological transformation.
Kind of. And the International Space Station is the perfect example. It's this amazing laboratory for studying how humans adapt to long-duration spaceflight.
I imagine there's a lot we can learn from those astronauts who've spent months up there.
Definitely. The book highlights the importance of things like exercise regimes to combat muscle and bone loss, carefully planned diets, psychological support to deal with the isolation.
Makes sense. You're basically creating a whole new way of life.
Exactly. And all these lessons from the ISS are going to be crucial if we ever want to establish permanent settlements on the Moon or Mars.
Speaking of Mars, the book seems particularly fascinated by the red planet.
Well, Mars has always held this special place in our imagination, right? It's the closest thing we have to another Earth.
I mean, it's called the red planet. It's got that whole mystique to it.
And there's evidence that it once had liquid water, maybe even life. The book really dives into this whole idea of terraforming Mars, transforming it to make it more like Earth.
Oh, wow. Is that even possible?
It's definitely a huge challenge, but the book argues that we're making remarkable progress in planetary science and engineering.
So it's not something we can do tomorrow, but it's not completely out of reach either.
Exactly. And even exploring these ideas pushes us to think in new ways about our relationship with other planets.
It's like we're not just explorers anymore. We're starting to become designers of worlds.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Okay, so we've talked about private company, new motivation, the human factor, and the allure of Mars.
Yeah.
What else does the book cover in this evolution of space exploration?
Well, it goes pretty deep into the technological advancements that are shaping the future of space travel. Things like advanced propulsion systems and the growing role of artificial intelligence and robotics.
That's where things start to get really futuristic.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we're going to explore in the final part of our deep dive.
So last time we were talking about all these new advancements in space travel, but this idea of artificial intelligence and robotics playing a bigger role really caught my attention.
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting. The book basically lays out a future where AI and robotics aren't just tools, they're more like partners in our journey beyond Earth.
Partner. That's a pretty big shift from how we think about robots now. What makes them so important for the future of space exploration?
Well, think about it. They can handle things that are way too dangerous for humans, like exploring the surface of Venus.
Oh yeah, that place is brutal.
Super hot, crazy pressure, not exactly human friendly. But robots can take the heat literally.
Yeah.
And then there's deep space missions, sending probes to the outer solar system where communication delays would make it impossible to control things from Earth in real time.
The robots become like our scouts, venturing into the unknown.
Exactly. But it's not just about going places. AI can analyze huge amounts of data from telescopes and probes, helping us make sense of the universe. It can also help design and optimize spacecraft and habitat, make them more efficient, more resilient.
So it's like AI is the brain and robots are the hands,
Yeah.
working together to expand our reach.
Yeah, that's a good way to think about it. And as AI gets more advanced, these systems will become even more independent, more sophisticated.
Like self-driving rovers on Mars making decisions about where to go based on what they find.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing stuff. But it also brings up some big questions. Like, where do humans fit in if robots are doing all the work?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Does this mean we just sit back and watch the robots do their thing?
The book actually tackles that head on. It argues that as AI and robotics advance, our role in space exploration will change, but it won't disappear.
What will we be doing then? Will we be like mission control, overseeing everything from afar?
It's probably more complicated than that. Humans bring things to the table that AI just can't replicate yet. Creativity, critical thinking, adaptability.
That makes sense. Robots are good at following instructions, but they're not so good at coming up with new ideas or solving unexpected problems.
Exactly. So we'll be the ones setting the goals, asking the big questions, making the tough decisions.
So it's more of a collaboration than humans and AI working together to accomplish things that neither could do alone.
Right. The book really emphasizes that the future of space exploration isn't just about technology. It's about finding the right balance between human ingenuity and artificial intelligence.
That's a really powerful idea. It's not about replacing humans. It's about augmenting our ability, expanding our potential.
Exactly. It's about taking the best of what both humans and machines have to offer and using it to push the boundaries of what's possible.
This has been an amazing deep dive into Multiplanetary Dawn. We've covered so much ground from the early days of the space race to the mind-blowing possibilities of the future. What are some of the key things you hope listeners will take away from our conversation?
Well, I hope they'll see that space exploration is about more than just rockets and planets. It's a story about us, about human ambition and our insatiable curiosity. It's about pushing our limits and constantly challenging ourselves to reach for something greater.
I think that's a beautiful way to put it. And for me, the biggest takeaway is that the future of space exploration isn't set in stone. It's being shaped right now by the choices we make and the stories we tell ourselves about why we explore.
Absolutely. The book really encourages us to be active participants in this journey, to imagine the possibilities, and to work towards making them a reality.
And for anyone who wants to dive even deeper into these incredible ideas, Multiplanetary Dawn is available on Amazon Kindle, Google Play Books. It's a truly inspiring read that will leave you looking up at the stars with a renewed sense of wonder and possibility. Thanks for joining us on this incredible journey.